Okay, so on today's episode, we're just going to talk about something I don't know. Like it just hit me. Like something was really weighing heavy on me and it just hit me and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then it just it clicked. So here I am in January. I'm getting ready to have this tummy tuck and I've been thinking about all these things, like everything that can go wrong and how this whole recovery process, like, man, I'm not going to be able to work out. It's just going to be bad. And I don't know how I'm going to do it because there's going to be a time I'm just not going to be able to work out. I just won't be able to do it. And I seriously just kept going to that part. And I talked about it, and talked about it and, flipped it and did all that. And then it clicked. It clicked. So what I've been trying to focus on up until then was just lifting heavy. Lifting heavy because I know during the recovery process, I'm not going to be able to lift heavy. I'm not going to be able to do that. So I want to make sure that I can do it right now. So then I'm like, okay, well, my food's not on point right now. And then so I'm thinking and I'm like, okay, well, if it was, I wouldn't have really the energy to lift heavy because, I wouldn't have as many calories. I just wouldn't feel it. And then, okay, I was making excuses and I was doing all that and still staying in worry and fear. And I'm just not that person. And I just, man, I don't know. So then was sitting there today and all of a sudden, I did something and I just got this bruise on my finger. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not going to be able to lift these weights like I need to because my grip is going to be off because I have this bruise on my finger. And God straight put me in check. Put me in check. And everything became so clear in that one moment. And it just all made sense to me. See, my issue has never been lifting. I've always been able to lift heavy from the moment I started lifting weights. So that's never been an issue for me. So that kind of got tabled. The issue with me is food, and it always has been food. And I went back to a point when I told myself I would never gain weight again. And I gained weight. I gained a lot of weight. A lot of weight. And so the issue is food. That's what it comes down to. So the time that I'm not going to be able to go to the gym will be a time when in the back of my head, this fear kind of kicked in because I never had a fear of gaining weight again. That never ever crossed my mind at all. And I did it and it happened. Well, now I think in the back of my head that was there because here I am and I'm going to have this surgery and I'm going to have a recovery time and I'm not going to be able to go to the gym, which is okay. But you're going to leave me in a place where my real issue is food. That is my issue. And I think a fear that I didn't realize that I had crept in. And the devil is sneaky. He's super sneaky. So he takes those little opportunities when we just think we let just a little thought come into our head. And it's just minor, but it's there, and sometimes we don't even realize it's there because I didn't realize it was there. And it was there and then it crept in and there was something deeper. And it took being called out and being called up in it to see what the real issue was. That really, I did have this and I do, and I need to work on this underlying of this fear of getting bigger again. And that man, that just hurts my heart that I even have that fear and that I didn't realize that I had it and that it just creeps in because my issue is food. That's my issue. And so if I have that fear there and my issue is food and I don't take that thought captive, then that's what's going to happen. I'm going to end up turning to food. So what I've got to do is I've got to take those thoughts, and it's going to be an amazing surgery. It's going to be an amazing recovery. Everything is going to be fine. And I just have to keep going. And it's all going to be cool. But see, I'm that person. I need to know the why behind the what. I need to know why I'm having this certain thing, and it keeps creeping in. Because that's how I'm able to go forward. Some things I'm never going to know why, and I'm cool and I can accept that, and everything's cool, you know? But when it comes to this, and this has always been an issue for me, and it's been food, I need to know the why behind the what. I need to know what this issue was, and that's what it is. And the thing about it is, though, is I've been bigger before, you know? I've been there, and I still walked in the gym, and I still showed up, and I still did what I needed to do. So even the part of just thinking that that's where it was for me, that's where the fear kicked in of that I would get bigger again, because there's a situation that I can't control. It's out of my control. I can't go to the gym. But then I got to hold that captive because I can control the food that I eat. I can control how I show up. I can control what I do during that time. I can control so many things, and I can control my attitude, and I can control how I take thoughts that are the bad thoughts. I can control how I take those captive and how I flip them, and I make a choice on whether I want those thoughts to stay there or whether I want to just tell them to go away, and I'm not cool with it, and I'm not going to believe that stuff. That's my choice. So I choose to flip it. I choose to see that this is where this comes from and why it may be there, but I'm not going to let it do anything for me. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I'm not going to let it have control over anything. And now that I know that it's there, like, I'm cool. Like, I'm not a person who has fears, or fears that I would have thought I had fears. You know what I mean? Because I don't. Like, if I say maybe I might be afraid to do this or do that, or it's uncomfortable, I just do it. I just do it. But I think when it comes to the whole weight thing, I think it's a bigger issue. And I think it just took everything coming together. And just my issue is food. It's kind of like I can kind of see if there was a drug addict and they went somewhere and there were a whole bunch of drugs. That's their addiction. Like, you're putting them in some kind of thing where that is a trigger for them, and that can be very bad. So it's kind of like with the whole, so say you have an alcoholic and you leave them in a room where there's just alcohol around. I mean, that's their vice. That's their thing. That's their addiction. So those are triggers, and they may go towards that, you know? I get it. You could leave me around the alcohol. I'm cool. Like, that's not my vice. It's not my trigger. It's not my addiction. But you put that bag of Doritos there. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm really tripping. Like, for real. And so I get it. And I get where it came from. And I get that, man, I had to dig deep. I had to dig deep, and I had to have help to dig deep, because it's not something that I really would have seen on my own. Like, you know what I mean? It was just there. And, man, it just kind of had to be pulled out because I overlooked it. Here I thought it was one thing, that the issue was one thing, and it turns out being another, you know? And here I saw that really my big underlying thing was just gaining weight again. That was it. Just gaining weight. You know? Something I never knew that I had a fear of. And then being in a house with my addiction, with food. Had nothing to do with lifting weights. Had nothing to do with my recovery time. Had nothing to do with not being able to do anything. It was just me being there in a scenario that I thought I may not be able to control what was going on or how it was, when in all actuality, I can. I can control it. And now that I really know exactly where it comes from, I can totally control it. I can control all of it, and I can make sure that I don't go down that path. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I hold those thoughts captive, and I tell myself that this doesn't have any power over me. And my thoughts aren't going to have any power over me. And my identity is not held in that, you know? My identity is in Jesus Christ. And that's where all my strength comes from. And that's where all my joy comes from. And so it's all going to be okay. And I just have to show up. And I just have to do what I know I can do and what's in my control. And so I'm just going to leave you with that, because maybe you're facing something like that. Maybe you're facing something you never knew you were facing. Maybe it takes talking about it just to bring it out, you know? It's just amazing when we do those things. So, hey, I hope this helps you, and have a great day. I'll catch you on the next episode.